The next category, Sapphire lighting, is the one where I would imagine most of you who are new to Sapphire will be spending most of your time. It's got some of the most popular plugins in it for altering your image. I want to start with Glint. Glint is pretty awesome. Let's just drop it on a clip here. You can see what happens. Here it is without, and then put Glint on. We're glinting the image, making it look glinty. Earlier I was showing you how we can actually use Glint to create these little streaks coming off of our image, like we were when we were doing our rack defocus, our fake rack defocus. So let's go to our rack defocus from earlier and do just that. We've got a rack defocus going on right here. And this would, just to sell this a little bit more, it'd be nice if like these hot spots in the image were glinty. So let's take your glint, and if you're on a PC, Alt drag, or if you're on a Mac, Option drag on top of your clip there, so you can stack it together. You can see now how I've got this little glint coming off of the hot spot in the image. And go into your effect editor, and you'll notice immediately you get these on-screen controls. Some of you may want to play with these and to get the look that you want. Personally, I usually stick to the effect editor just because I always know immediately what it is that I'm changing in terms of which parameter. So we can play with our brightness here, bump that up a little bit, change the hue, and the threshold is important because this is going to determine what's the threshold for the brightest part of the image that's actually going to receive a glint. So let's move along here, and you can see that when I play with the threshold, it determines exactly how glinty this image is going to get. But if you keep it down low, you make it look real natural. It looks very nice. It looks pretty cool. The other thing that I would normally do in this case is it's a very symmetrical looking glint. So I would go down on my size details here, and I would play with the X, Y, and the diagonal portions of the glint. So like maybe I want one of the diagonal, no, maybe not that one, but this diagonal one to be really long, and then let's say maybe the X is like a little bit smaller, and then the Y is really bumped up. And you can create some really stylistic looking effects, make that go all the way up to the top of the screen, maybe bump up our brightness. You can get crazy with it. Let's do a quick render. Okay. Let's see how that looks. Here where you have footage that by itself maybe just looks a little bit flat. I mean, it's a beautiful shot of a car, but we could really make this spiced up a little bit if we put some glint on there. So let's put some glint on there. Option drag that over. Now that's a bit much, so now let's go in and play with our threshold and bring that down a little bit. And let's play with our colors too. I'd like to make it a little bit more blue. Because we're trying to match the color of the car a little bit. Not exactly, but that's good. Okay. Bump up the brightness. Again, I want to bring my threshold down. You can blur your threshold a little bit. I suggest doing that. That makes it look a little less sharp. And then my favorite thing to do is play with the size details. So turn X all the way down, and Y is going to get bumped up, and diagonal is going to come down too. And let's just see how this looks. Especially like this over here where the highlights are getting lit up. It looks really nice. Still maybe a hair too bright. So I'll bring that back down. I want to go for a natural look. Looks really cool. We have a shot here of this car that's nicely framed with some really cool hot spots on it. That's a perfect example of where glint would really add a lot to the picture. And if you're going for a natural look, glint is perfect. So I'm just going to grab a glint, put it on here, and you can see what it does. This is a little too dreamy, so maybe what I'll do is I'll go into my effect editor and I'll turn my threshold down. And the threshold is like I said before, you know, what is the brightest part of the image that's going to receive the glint. So I'm going to turn threshold up so that only the hot spots are actually going to get glinty. So that looks pretty good. And then let's play with our size details, and maybe X is all the way down. Our diagonal is very wide, very long. Take this diagonal and make it a little bit shorter, and then Y is maybe Y is 0 too. And then now you can really have fun with the hue shift and and playing with the colors until you get the look for the glint that you like. Turn up your brightness. If you turn your brightness up, it's easier to see what hue it is. So I'm gonna go like right. It's pretty good. All right, like it's a bright, shiny day. There we go. Just make it real subtle. That might even be a bit much. You can see how it looks really sharp. If you change your threshold blur, it makes it a little bit more natural, a little less sparkly. And all those hot spots get a little bit of a glint. And you can compare that, we just bypass it. You can see where the glint lives.